All right, today we're going to talk a little bit about construction. I understand that you guys are not home inspectors and you are not here to be home inspectors, but you obviously need to know a little bit about the construction. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and figure out how that works out into that. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is the site preparation. Site preparation for a new build or a construction home deals with the clearing and the preparation of the services to the site. So, like, how are we going to bring the water in? Where's the electric coming from? Is there any other things that we need to bring, like cable? Is there any other kind of other underground buried item? Anything like that. The cost is generally not included in the initial construction estimate, okay? So the site preparation is not part of the actual build. It may be something the buyer's going to pay for, but it's not going to be part of the construction cost, all right? Because a lot of times what lies below the surface, they don't know. You know, they think they know what it is, but they may get in there and it may be something completely different. Especially for the establishment of new services. So and a lot of times you hear the term is called a tap-in fee. You know, you may have to take the house and you've got to tap into the city sewer. You've got to tap into the city water lines, all of that. Site preparation could also have to do with building a septic or a well if you're not in a position where there's city water and sewer available. So all of that would be part of the site preparation on a construction of a new home. All right. Now, the next two things here I want to show you, see if I can do this, B and C right here. They actually can go probably in reverse order here. And when I was writing this out, I probably didn't put this in the best order. Permits, basically a permit is required by the jurisdiction for all new construction. Or if you're adding on to any existing structure, like a building permit, so that if you want to add a room or anything like that, or sometimes if there's a major renovation where you're not adding the square footage, you can definitely look at it like this. If you're building a new house, you need a building permit. If you're changing the square footage, you need a building permit. And in some cases where you're not changing the square footage, you may still need a building permit. Two good examples would be if you're going to finish a basement, you may need a building permit. You're not changing the square footage, but you're upgrading. Or if you're, say, I just had one the other day where a client wanted to, they had an old house and the attic was big enough, they wanted to put bedrooms in the attic, and they were going to have to run electrical wire and venting and ductwork and all that. I believe they had to end up getting a building permit for that. So a building permit is something that just basically allows you to build, all right? So probably building permit, if we're going in any kind of order, would be the next thing after the site preparation, then building permits. Then you have, once the permits get issued, you need to understand that you've got to satisfy these by building codes. I guess you could almost put blueprints next even, because you have to have blueprints or you have to understand the code. This is one of those vicious cycles. You got to know the code, write the blueprints, and I guess building codes would come next. The building codes are nothing but a set of engineering standards that decide or determine to make sure that the building meets certain current specifications. Let me give you a good example. Probably 10 years ago, plug-ins were two-prong. Now you've got the ground plug. So that is in the building code that all electrical has to have the ground plug. All right? Now there is a very special set of building codes for residency. And it has to be for residential real estate to prove that the house is safe for human occupancy. We call it a certificate of occupancy. Or if you're really slick, man, you can call it the C of O. A lot of times I hear the builders call it the C of O. It's a document that's issued by the local agency or the building department to make sure that your building is in compliance with the building code and the other laws. All right. It also indicates that the building is suitable for human occupancy. So they're going to come in and you're going to, right before you close on the new house, they're going to issue you a certificate of occupancy. This is that old building inspector routine where he comes out, he walks the place, makes sure, and there's certain things he's going to look for. Do the doors lock? Do the windows close? You know, is it built of sufficient material that it's safe and is going to withstand certain winds and storms and rains? So basically what he's doing is making sure that the very first person, so it's the sale from the builder to the very first owner occupied, uses the certificate of occupancy. We bought a new home that was a Davis built home. When Brad got the certificate of occupancy, it was pasted on the front window. All right. When we closed the deal, one of the papers we signed was the certificate of occupancy, and we got that in our package to prove that the house had, quote unquote, finger quotes for you people listening at home, passed the certificate of occupancy. Okay. So, and it's there to decide to make sure that you as a builder don't want to exercise your rights and go, well, I want to build a house out of balsa wood. All right, it's my right. No, because someone else may suffer for that. So they're saying that, oh, you got to have studs so many inches on center. You got to have this and that. And that is to make sure that you don't exercise your free will and build a crappy home that will kill someone else. All right, minimum set of standards. And that certificate is actually evidence that the building complies with the plans and specifications that have been submitted. So when you get your plans, and we can actually talk a little bit about blueprints now, when the builder builds his blueprints and he says, here's what I want to build, not only is it the instruction for the construction guys to go out and say, okay, well, we need timbers and pour a slab 120 feet long. Before that even happens, before the actual construction foreman starts the build, the guy will take the blueprints down to the plan reviewer. And my cousin Robin is actually a plan reviewer. He's now in the Department of Homeland Security, used to be in the fire marshal's office. And what Robin will do is review the plans to make sure that what they're going to build, hypothetically, meets all of the requirements. And the reason I say hypothetically is because the certificate of occupancy inspection is to verify that they actually did what they said they were going to do, right? So you don't end up with somebody going, well, I want to build A, and they show the plans and they go out and build B, all right? Because we all know that that could potentially happen, right? All right. We all know that builder. So you can kind of see that the certificate of occupancy becomes the check or the balance to the original check. So the builder and the homeowner decide these plans called blueprints. They say, here's what we want. The builder takes those to get the blueprints to get the building permits and the certificate of occupancy. And the blueprints are nothing more than the pictures of how the house is going to be. It's given to the plan reviewer. He will then sign off on that building or that blueprint to say, yes, this meets all of the standards. All right? Question? Yeah, no, it's the full print. So, I mean, you've got not only, I don't know if the mic's working, so let me rephrase that question. The audience mic doesn't seem to be capturing real quick. I don't know. The question was, does that include electrical and plumbing? Yeah. Remember the blueprints have, if you've never seen blueprints, it's a bunch of pages. You know, the layout, the floor layout that we see when the model guy gives us and said, here's the floor layout with the dimensions. That is a very dumbed down version. The blueprints typically are 6, 7, 8, 10 pages thick. and they're on big sheets. I don't know, I'm not an architect, but let's say big. All right? And there may be a sheet that deals with the framing. There may be a sheet that deals with the electrical, so it shows how it's going to be wired. You know, where's the plug-in actually going to be? Then there may be a sheet for the plumbing that shows how the plumbing is going to be wired, and we're going to talk about these here in a little bit. All right? So, yeah, this is going to have everything. So when Robin looks at the prints, he's going to look at, let's say he looks at the electrical prints. He's going to look to make sure that there is a grounded plug 3 feet from any water source. All right? That's one of the standards. So, for instance, if you've got a plug in your kitchen that runs your blender and it's next to your sink, has to be grounded. That's code. That's the code right now. So Robin's going to look at that blueprint, see that that plug-in, and based on the architectural design, it's going to, he knows what a three-prong code looks like, the symbol for a three-prong code. I think it's a circle with 3 lines showing it's a three-prong code. So that's telling Robin that, hey, they're going to build the ground, whereas, you know, the line with the 2, a circle with 2 lines in it, it's a 2-prong plug-in. So Robin's going to look at that and go, yeah, that's got to be there. That's got to be a 3-prong, so it's code. Then he may flip it over and look at the plumbing and say, okay, we got to have, you know, this plumbing, and then he'll look at another plan. And then what happens is they get signed off on by Robin, who has the final say, so to speak, of signing off on the plan. He would then give the builder the 2 thumbs up. For those sitting at home, you didn't see that. 2 thumbs up, hey, that the builder can now build the building based on what he submitted to the plan reviewer. He cannot change from here on out, because if he changes, it could violate the agreement, and maybe the CFO doesn't get issued. I mean, he can't say, I'm going to put 3-prong plugs and everything, and then go back, get the plan review okay, come back and go, you know what, I can't afford that, I'm just going to stick in 2-prong plugs. That's what the CFO does. It tests later. The inspector comes in and checks it, okay? So it's something he cannot test. So that's the blueprints. So these 3 kind of work together. I mean, you've got to know the codes to write the blueprints, and you've got to have a permit before you even can start the blueprints. And all of that, of course, is predicated upon your site preparation. All right, so let's stop the video here for a minute.